Microphone. Let's do microphone. Actually, I should probably mute that. Microphone. Hey, what's up? All right, yeah. My video can only pick up from one source, so it's on YouTube Live right now. But you should be able to hear me. Um,
All right. I have it on my computer. I don't have any sound though, and I have to. Let me see. So you want me to hang up and see if I can hear you?
well, yeah, you should be able to hear me. Oh, on the YouTube Live.
Yeah.
There we go. It should go now. Yeah, I just heard the phone call. Whatever. Video can only pick up one source, so it's on YouTube
I
Live.
see you. Delay.
Yeah, it should be about a 10-second delay.
Okay. Let me pull you up on the big screen because you're on my computer right now,
Okay.
and then I'll text you when we're ready to go.
Well, okay, no problem. Able to hear on the YouTube Live?
I'll text you in a minute.
All right.
Okay.
Just to make sure you could hear me. Microphone check 1 2 3 1 2 3. I guess I'll do it every about 30 seconds just to make sure you could hear me. Move this a little closer. Just in case that's a little bit better. Get real close to the mic just to make sure. All right, there we go. Just text me whenever you're ready. Microphone check 1 2 3. Microphone check 1 2 3. Making sure I could be heard. Microphone check. Okay, good. All right. And I could also read chat in here, so. Okay. Here we go. My name is David Templarios. Okay, good. My name is David Templarios. I am from New Jersey and a former Marine. I was in 0341, which is Heavy Weapons Infantry, and I was stationed here in Hawaii. I received an AA at Honolulu Community College. I have my bachelor's degree in American Studies at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, your department. One interesting thing about me is that I am Navajo and Hopi Native American. I am from the Jersey Shore, before all the TV shows when it was really crazy. I'm here to give a presentation on creating and maintaining historic districts in Honolulu, Hawaii. It is my final requirement to earn my Historic Preservation Graduate Certificate in American Studies. This topic is vital to the state of Hawaii. It is our responsibility to preserve Hawaii's Kingdom Era's built environment. This presentation aims at resolving various issues facing Hawaii concerning historic districts. The subject is very crucial for the Hawaii government, nonprofit organizations, and institutions having an interest in Hawaii's preservation, to reach solutions that resolve the problems of this confluence while still achieving their own individual missions and goals. By creating and then maintaining historical districts that will remain economically viable, even in the face of increasing real estate development. And those processes can be applied here in Hawaii. All right, this is going to be a table of contents, and how I'm going to structure my presentation. I'll just move right along. And this is section 1. I'll cover all these topics right here. Okay. First one is why we preserve history and tradition in Western culture. Preservation of the traditional and historical aspects of Western culture is aimed at building stronger linkages between the conservation and community-based initiatives by creating a source of pride and increasing environmental sustainability. The act of preservation inspires considerate professional practices which uphold a historic-based environment. As such, it plays an essential role in influencing positive awareness in our shared history in modern-day life and that of future generations. Historic preservation in Hawaii. Laws and regulations guiding historic preservation are derived from federal principles. They can differ from small-scale designated areas under jurisdiction of counties, which is slightly different because counties have a little bit more control than normally in the rest of the United States. The legal zone comprises of any region that has a place, a historical or architectural structure. These property owners are still expected to adhere to the guidelines, such as making appropriate alterations and not making inappropriate alterations that may have an impact on the building. These legislations also provide the basis upon which preservation initiatives will be based. Due to the loss of the preserving indigenous Hawaiian culture, due to the loss of Hawaiian population and increasing number of immigrants from various geographical backgrounds, which replaces the remaining Hawaiian population, there is a fear of the risk of losing traditional Hawaiian culture. They include traditional historic sites, architectural events, and language. Preservation needs to be aimed at deriving economic and social benefits, bringing about pride from the unique established heritage of Hawaii, and receive revenue from economic activities from the Hawaiian culture to be economically sustainable and maintainable. As part of the American way of life, Hawaii is proud to represent a unique cultural aspect, a tangible connection that unites it to the larger American lifestyle. Key initiatives and strategy. How we have carried out historical preservation in the United States. Key initiatives and strategy adopted towards the preservation of cultures include relevant policies that guide the maintenance of buildings, documentation, initiatives to inspire private owners to conserve the historical sites, and increase research on how to carry out preservation or conservative initiatives. Since private developers must own architectural and historical sites, Department of Interior standards have in place guidelines and policies on how owners can change their buildings without losing the structural aspects. How historic preservation works in Hawaii. The State of Hawaii Historic Preservation Division oversees all historic conservation and preservation. For example, the state handles all the architectural properties that can be listed. The government, on the other hand, controls repairs and maintenance. Despite being under the ownership of private individuals, the government has enacted guidelines and policies to be used in upholding conservation measures of historical heritage. At the same time, a 20% income tax credit is offered to individuals who support and observe established conservative measures in Hawaii. The State Division of Historic Preservation, is mandated to put in place various preservation guidelines. Identification and evaluation of historic districts and buildings is the first step. The next step is listing the buildings or district on the National Register of Historic Places. After listing or recording, the proprietor is noted to adhere to the guidelines of repair and maintenance, creating the framework to encourage other proprietors to do the same. The Historic Division is also expected to come up with policies and guidelines to help in conservation measures. Historic preservation and residential property values. Property values are increasing the value of historic architectural neighborhoods, while assisting weaving the ideology of preservation within those communities. The initiative increases in value about 2 to 4%. It depends. It's very unique to each historical district, and there's a lot of statistical and data collection in it. These properties are compared to others within the locality of adjacent ones without the historical district. The action helps in upholding the quality and character of the community, with an assurance to the buyers that nothing will change to depreciate the established value that that historical district has created, and there is a range outside the historical district. It is thus assist in the social, cultural, and economic cooperation among the community on preservation matters, so it's in everybody's interest, if done correctly. It's a little bit complicated. But it can be measured. That is the takeaway from all this. But let's get into it. Hedonic pricing is a model which identifies price factors according to the premise that price is determined by both internal characteristics of the good being sold, which is real estate, and external factors affecting, which is very specific to that historical district or region that we're trying to find out the price for. Hedonic pricing model is often used to estimate quantitative values for environmental ecosystem services that directly affect market prices at home, which is varied and very specific. The hedonic model is also known as the algorithm model. It's used to identify price dynamics based on hypotheses that outside factors determining price in addition to attributes of the products offered for sale. And they try to find a range of how much influence of this increase in value or even a decrease in value outside the historical district. And that's there is a known value, and this is how they came up with it. This model is also used in determination of housing markets. It further indicates the relationship between existing environmental externalities and housing prices. By use of this model, it's easy to apply and understand in comparison to other models involved in price determination. The takeaway, there is a region outside every historical district that increases property values, and it can be measured. This method of evaluation does require a strong degree of statistical expertise and model specification. And it does follow like a long history of data collection. But the point is that you could sell this to a developer and be like, this historic district will benefit surrounding neighborhoods. And that's all you really need to know about hedonic pricing. Rehab of historic properties with the help of tax abatements. Tax abatement is a tax order to inspire specific historic preservation measures. Private owners are given a 20% preservation tax abatement to encourage them to help initiate historic preservation. Though these initiatives are aimed at helping owners maintain the structures for the future. With historic preservationists and investors existing side by side, the two entities can work towards architectural preservation while at the same time enjoying tax incentives and other government concessions. Non-for-profits and historic preservation. The National Trust for Historic Preservation is a nonprofit historical preservation entity. Its mission statement is to protect noteworthy sites and places by encouraging broad local involvement and support. Established in 1949, the organization has endeavored to uphold and support preservation that is sustainable by the reuse of historic sites. It empowers, preserves our national heritage and even our regional cultural heritage that is specific to each place. Preserving indigenous Hawaiian culture through historic properties. Site reconstruction is complex and an extensive process requiring financial support. The community and nonprofit organizations in Hawaii need to work together and their preservation measures, to include government agencies, allied nonprofits, listing, and the community, to create a robust social structure of preservation in mind. So though that social structure needs to be in place with government structures, Hawaii Historic Preservation Division, and non-for-profits such as this. These efforts and initiatives have improved in saving while promoting indigenous Hawaiian culture. So the process of it and the actual end result of achieving historical preservation all helps saving indigenous Hawaiian culture. So you got to follow through, achieve the goal, but the whole process needs to be looked at. This is my section 2, preservation and development, and these are the subjects I will be going over. Real estate development is a complex construction project that involves numerous professionals in the planning of and implementation of that plan. However, development within the cultural heritage entails the act of enhancing property quality by increasing its longevity and productivity. You want to increase the value of that property. Both development and preservation are essential as it helps to maintain the quality of the cultural artifacts and the buildings themselves for future generations. Although with the primary aim of improving the site as a whole. Real estate development in Hawaii. The primary goal of development and preservation is to identify places of interest, maintain the quality of architectural buildings and structures, thereby making them more productive and usable to the general public, make them durable for future generations, and even appealing. The real estate market in Hawaii is unique in part because the amount of space here on the island is limited. However, Hawaii's real estate market is more stable, and we do not see the drastic fluctuations in valuation as in the mainland. Although our market is cyclical like the mainland, it does mirror the national market. We do see those ups and downs, but they're more gentle with those cyclical natures of the up and down real estate market. The initiative is to achieve by creating historical districts, which is a form of urban renewal that has aimed at improving the quality of historic buildings in Hawaii, which increases the value of them. U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The department is mandated by offering Americans with non-discriminative, affordable, and accessible housing. It creates and develops policies and initiatives that relate to urban development and housing. Its mission is to create strong, viable, and adaptive and affordable housing. The department also shields consumers and strengthens the economy towards the achievement of affordable and quality rental housing through various initiatives and programs. Hopefully everybody knows what HUD is. Preservation versus development should be obvious to most of you in the room, hopefully. Various preservation techniques and strategies are used to maintain architectural styles and designs. Development, on the other hand, refers to the act of improving the quality of property by efficiently targeting those aspects that increase the site's value. While preservation helps in maintaining the historical heritage, development helps in the quality and productivity. Preservation and development in Hawaii. Hawaii applies both concept of preservation and development. It basically works hand in hand, but we could see more of that. Both real estate developers and proprietors strive towards improving the quality of architectural relevant houses to their original appearances. Urban renewal is one such initiative aimed at enhancing the quality of dwellings and encourages their productivity. The Waikiki War Memorial Pool is one such example. The action applies to use of the beach to make it more historic and practical. There's a lot of debate at Mauna Kea. We could get into that argument, but it's not here. But I think it's the best example of how people need to come together and resolve a solution. And this is beyond the scope of this presentation, but these same processes can be applied. There needs to be an end goal for both sides. That they both come out on top and resolve that issue. Anyways, in the urban renewal, which entails the identification of areas where to undertake redevelopment. The second is the elimination of building structures on that land which are not historic. The third step is the maintenance and development of identifying those regions. Lastly is a smooth transition of the new to old improved structures to create that historical district, hand in hand with development. To section 3, case studies. We'll be going over Philadelphia, New York, and a feasible one, Hawaii. Philadelphia's historical site stretches from Delaware River to Lombard Street. It is known as the United States World Heritage City. It is famous for art galleries, renowned restaurants, and private boutiques. Some of the best known features include Franklin Square, the Delaware River waterfront, and Washington Square. The city has in place well-founded strategies and initiatives for maintaining its historical sites and buildings, such as commemorating past dialects, art, and people. Hawaii can replicate and apply some of these concepts to improve and preserve its heritage. New York. Auburn Park serves as a historical district in New York. It's made up of duplex houses, and one of them is J.P. Morgan's. Built his mansion over there. It boasts 12 prominent houses established in the 19th century. The home serves as a critical historic site of the city. Hawaii can borrow much from New York by identifying unique buildings and features for preservation. It can also enact and apply landmark preservation by accommodating new activities and needs, economic growth, and neighborhood revitalization. Feasible historical district in Hawaii. Despite multiple changes to the features and threats to Hawaiian cultures facing extinction, it is still essential to preserve and promote its unique heritage. First and foremost is language, as it remains the most affected and is the core of culture. However, we can help keep this area's historical relevancy through the built environment. Nonprofits could help with funding projects that focus on the Hawaiian language, art, building, and architecture, including buildings or spaces that specifically aim at the preservation of cultural elements. Real estate development, on the other hand, is essential in planning the region to determine the ideal area for a historical district and constructing appropriate buildings and features while maintaining the economic value and preserving Hawaii's past. Real estate agencies would be essential in the construction of the preservation sites, as well as retaining the section to ensure that they will be accessible to future generations that address economic value and cultural value to local communities. They need to be economically viable to be sustainable for the future. It's very important. Or at least as much as possible. You could always increase value in multiple ways. It just doesn't have to always be making sure it's upkept. There could be other factors that are culturally derived to generate revenue. Okay, so this is section 5. Normally I don't read these sections, but it is kind of important. Maintaining historical districts to the public process. Okay, my fault. I got a little bit mixed up there. Okay, I'll just go into the slide. Hawaiian historical districts are essential as they provide an association of buildings with the events that had a significant contribution to the history of the Hawaiian Kingdom. The Hawaiian historic districts are characterized by the architecture that reflects the social and political evolution of the Hawaiian people. However, different factors have affected the preservation of Hawaiian historical districts. One of these factors are Supreme Court historical preservation landmark cases. Yeah, okay, so this is what I'm trying to get into. So external Supreme Court cases, federal cases, does of course affect state of Hawaii. We fall under federal law. The county of Honolulu obviously falls under the state Hawaii law, so on and so forth. That's just my point right there. So these court cases, even though there are other towns, other cities, they still apply over here. I mean, it's it's kind of obvious once you state it, but it seems a little bit tangential if you cursorily look at it. Okay, Penn Central Penn Central Transportation versus New York City. The Supreme Court, this is a Supreme Court historical preservation landmark case. It is a barrier to the preservation of Hawaiian districts, could be one. The case had an impact on preservation measures and initiatives by hindering preservation attempts. At the same time, the Penn State Central case has a central effect on preservation measures and actions. Many developers and agencies have, however, not complied with the outlined proposals of development of the architectural properties. Hawaii has, however, drawn positive benefits from established laws at aiming at improving historical districts. If you have a historical site, the community needs to be involved and not try to find loopholes. That's basically what this case was about. And even though the next adjacent land was technically historical preservation zoned, they want to sell it off and gain revenue from it, which is obviously a hindrance. The Agnes versus Trebon case, has also remained a remarkable case in the Supreme Court. The case arose out of the placement of the Agnes property on the residential development and open space zone. They bought it in a residential zone, and in the process of buying it, it became open space. The restriction that resulted from the case discouraged developers from enacting real estate development, leading to the high cost of maintenance that the state could basically change at will. Historical district to residential to industrial to whatever, it's a big concern. This situation has further led to high procedural costs in the maintenance of construction by properly dealing a blow to it dealt a blow to preservation initiatives and measures by not being structured enough. It should be, as the time you buy it, that should carry forward regardless of the law changing. So things held in escrow in the process of changing hands, it needs to remain the same what the initial zoning was. The First English Evangelical Lutheran Church versus Los Angeles County is another serious case decided by the Supreme Court. Decision of the case on this case was that damage should be recovered where property is temporarily eminent domained. The government is to compensate all affected parties for the duration in which it was in effect. So whatever entity took control of it, and they needed to compensate all parties involved, even though they were renovating it because repairs took way too long. Okay, I'm going to get into the analysis and solution. So sit tight, it's almost done. From the above scenarios, it is evident that the government and Hawaii's real estate sector faces an uphill task. The most outstanding feature is that much of the real estate ownership is private, arousing conflict of interest among the entities engaged. However, maintenance of historical heritage is crucial, and strategic measures need to be enacted. All stakeholders should thus adapt strategies, measures, and initiatives to achieve sustainable historic preservation. It is crucial to create a balance, is my solution, and I'll get into more to depth in a little bit. It is crucial to create a balance between real estate developers and preservationists to ensure for the preservation of historic resources. Above all, preservation initiatives and programs should focus on inclusion to achieve comprehensive and accurate preservation measures. Despite the divide, there is a community acknowledgement that we need to come together despite our differences in ethnicity and race and socioeconomic aspects. Preservation measures should be inclusive of all communities across the state. So the preservation of one culture benefits all cultures and our nation as a whole. Conclusion. Due to the arising dynamics, preservation's need to undertake drastic measures and counter the widespread devastation of Hawaii's historical landmarks. Corporate development needs to incorporate preservation measures to ensure that they serve the purpose and needs of the Hawaiian community at the same time. Change to the rising social economic and let me repeat that thinking ahead to my next slide. Corporate development needs to incorporate preservation measures to ensure that they serve the purpose and needs of the Hawaiian community, and at the same time, change the rising social economic situations. It needs to be adaptable to whatever obstacles you encounter. It could overcome that. So you have the end goal, and that's what you're trying to reach. You're not trying to reach a system of processes and checkpoints or whatever. That you're trying to do what it takes to achieve that goal and adjust accordingly. And that be like a pure bureaucratic cog. Okay. Get to the final stage of an historic district, it requires careful planning, flexibility, knowledge of real estate, historic preservation, government processes in terms of litigation, and the allocation of financial resources. Thus, this is a significant responsibility for any one governmental department or profession. However, with transparent, effective communication with cooperating non-for-profits, real estate development firms, and community engagement, any project Missouri has can be built for our community to enjoy and primary our share of history. Historic districts start with an idea with preserving our past for future generations. This concludes my presentation, and I want to thank you all. Okay, so apologize for the stop and go of the last slide, but it does include my presentation. Is there any questions? I'll just play it again. Knowledge of real estate, historic preservation, and the government processes in terms of litigation and the allocation of financial resources. Thus, this is a significant responsibility. Oh, can't hear the video? However, with transparent, effective communication with cooperating non-for-profits, real estate development firms, and community engagement, any project Missouri has can be built for our community to enjoy and to primary our share of history. Let me just find that video then. I just have to switch my account. It's an uploaded video, so it should be relatively straightforward to find. Yeah, you could Skype me 1 second. Oh, I know where it is. To get to the final stage of an historic district, it requires careful planning, flexibility, knowledge of real estate, historic preservation, and the government processes in terms of litigation and the allocation of financial resources. Thus, this is a significant responsibility for any one governmental department or profession. However, with transparent, effective communication with cooperating non-for-profits, real estate development firms, and community engagement, any project Missouri has can be built for our community to enjoy and to primary our share of history. Historic districts start with an idea with preserving our past for future generations. Okay, I'll switch to Skype now.